see if there's any miracles that are going to come out of our today podcast, because we have Kristin Anderson. She is the co-founder of the Fit Club.
Nice.
Yes.
Yep.
Unfortunately, isn't for adults. It is for kids.
So we will still be unfit at the end of this podcast.
There's potential. If we could turn back the clock, we may be able to do something. But the Fit Club is a organization that is really about the teaching of food sourcing and food production. So we're hopefully going to learn a lot about, the areas that I'm probably failing at. So,
you'll be a pro and Fit Club by the end of it.
We will see. I want to be sure that I can get my kids enrolled whatever way, because Dad didn't set the best example. But no, she's really gonna break down the club and its origin, and get the community in the know about the Fit Club.
Awesome.
All right. So without further ado, today joining us on our Totally Preventable podcast, we are joined by Kristin Anderson, the co-founder of the Fit Club. Kristin, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the Totally Preventable podcast.
Yeah, we appreciate you. So, Kristin, as we normally do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So for what I call my day job, I've been working as a physician over the last 20 years, and I guess my 24/7 job, I'm a proud mother of 3 teenage boys. I trained at the Brown Medicine Pediatrics Residency Program, and I'm dually board certified in internal medicine and pediatrics. And currently I'm an assistant professor of medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry and human behavior in the clinician educator path. So over the first half of my career, I worked as a general internist, treating, adults in the primary care center. And then about 9 years ago, I kind of completely pivoted to pediatrics. And so I've been working at the Hasbro Partial Hospital Program over the last 9 years, which is a day program for children and adolescents struggling with both medical and psychiatric co-diagnoses. And this includes children who struggle with eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa, as well as those dealing with the medical sequelae of obesity, highlighting the need for a healthy relationship with food. And I have to say, I was kind of looking through some of your podcasts, and I saw last week, Christina Tortolani and her colleague Andrea did one on eating disorders. So I figured this is a great fit. And for many years, I had the opportunity to teach at the MedPeds primary care clinic and caring for families in Providence. And so outside of my work at Hasbro, in 2013, I co-founded a 501c3 organization called Fit Club with my mother, Susan Lair. She's now retired, but she was chair of the Education Studies Department at Skidmore College, and children's literature was her area of interest. Her research focused on using high-quality children's literature in the classroom to convey themes of social justice and equality. So I literally grew up in a house full of books, and believe they are powerful tools for change. So naturally, I question, with my job as a physician, whether we can use books to convey themes of health and wellness. It's one thing to hear from your pediatrician, eat your vegetables and, make sure you're exercising. But when you read a story about girls who are racing to meet their Olympic hero, Wilma Rudolph, at the local parade, or learning how that food got into your lunchbox, that really helps solidify those important messages.
Was it hard for you to make that jump from adult care to being in pediatrics?
It was, since I kind of done the 8-9 years of adult medicine, that first year was a little tricky, but I had a really solid foundation of training, and I had throughout that period also for much of the time period had continued to sort of precept at the MedPeds primary care center. So I had always sort of continued to be involved in pediatrics, and we have to do kind of our annual CME, our ongoing sort of academic training to keep our licenses. So I had that really solid foundation, but yeah, it was a bit of a transition.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what Fit Club stands for and what it's about?
Yeah, sure. So Fit Club stands for Framework for Integrated Teaching. The idea stems, kind of what I said before, from my mom's research and firm belief that using high quality children's books in the classroom can help provide a more holistic education. And really, the themes of healthy eating, food sourcing, and impacts on health are all interconnected. So that sense of integrated teaching. And they involve reading, science, social studies, and mathematics. So, and of course, the message fit really seemed to fit the message of what we were trying to convey.
Want to jump right on that. Integrated teaching with a lot of things in my household. So I need that. But was there like a key moment, or was there like an event that prompted you and your mom to start the Fit Club?
Yeah, that's a great question. So during my residency training, I had the opportunity where there was a partnership with one of the middle schools in the south side of Providence, and with our MedPeds residency training program. And so I helped develop a program that we called Young Doctors Club. And so middle school students came twice a month to the hospital to learn about the field of medicine and preventive lifestyle habits. And we use like mock patient modules. So I kind of created this curriculum where, 1 month was cardiology, 1 month was pulmonology. And so like during cardiology, we would kind of have a mock patient like Mr. McDonald, who, presents to the ER with a heart attack. And so we would kind of do the whole health careers with, we'd have an echo technician come down and show the kids like an echo of the heart. And we would kind of teach them like using different fast foods, like, about cholesterol and healthy nutrition, and really kind of that preventive medicine, but also really exposing kids to careers in healthcare. And so that program ran for about 15 years. And so I kind of had always wanted to figure out a way to get that to a broader audience. And that's kind of where the seed of Fit Club came from, and thinking about using the internet. And so, the idea really started as a small seed and just kind of continued to blossom, and it just kind of like kept nagging at me. And at the time I came across this great book, and I'm going to talk a lot about books during this because that's part of, it's always about the books for me. But there's a book called What Do You Do with an Idea? And it's written by Kobe Yamada and illustrated by Mae Basom. That was published right around the time that this idea was blossoming. It's just about this idea, this girl who has an idea, and it just keeps growing and growing, and she can't ignore it. So Fit Club for me was kind of like that. And so kind of with that idea of trying to get some of those concepts from what we had done with Young Doctors Club onto a website, and developing lessons, and certainly with my mom's resources at Skidmore College, and kind of the idea of preventive medicine. And the using children's literature, that's sort of how the idea kind of came to be. And so I was kind of able to recruit, well, obviously my mom, and then some like-minded individuals. And so back in 2013, we were able to kind of form a nonprofit board. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking when my kids were younger, if there's a topic that was really difficult, we would sometimes look for a book, maybe. So it's kind of the reverse of
Yeah.
that. Like getting the book that has the topic that you want to convey.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the context of promoting healthy lifestyles, can you share some specific examples of how integrated teaching about nutrition has positively impacted communities, and some maybe challenges that you've encountered along the way?
Sure. Yeah, so we kind of worked on creating different online resources that kind of adapt to various settings. Always kind of using those high quality children's books as the basis. And this has included lesson plans, interactive reader series, book lists, in-person workshops, and online videos. And so I'd love to kind of give, be able to kind of talk about some of those various resources that we have.
sure.
So, firstly, we kind of, in partnership with Skidmore College, my mom was still working there at the time. We were able to grant what we called Fit Club Awards to Skidmore seniors who had been chosen by, they had to meet certain grade criteria, and they had to have completed their student teaching. And so they developed lesson plans. And again, we kind of gave them a framework for integrated teaching now. I gave them a framework for kind of what we were looking for. And then they were so creative and came up with these like great lesson plans. And then my mom kind of edited them just with her, she was a teacher for all of her life, taught college students how to become teachers. So she edited those for the educational content. And then I edited those for the medical content. And I kind of touched upon this just super lightly earlier, but when I kind of started Fit Club, I was really kind of coming from this through an obesity lens and thinking about, the obesity epidemic and those concerns. And then with my work over the last 9 years at the partial program, and also seeing kind of the other side of that with anorexia and really unhealthy relationships with food on the other end of the spectrum, actually kind of went back through and sort of edited some of those lessons for medical content based on sort of that clinical experience. So really try to create really balanced lesson plans. So that piece was important. So we now have over 100 lessons on our website. And so not only was this collaboration with Skidmore really helpful to kind of create our online resources, my hopes was it also kind of let future teachers see how they could use books to positively impact the health of their students. And some of my favorite lesson plans include the book, The Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza, written by Philomene Sturgis and illustrated by Amy Allred. And so it's about to take on the little red hen, and she's gathering all the different ingredients from various stores to make the pizza, and then trying to recruit her, other animal friends to make the pizza. So we have one where, kids create a pizza collage, and it kind of teaches them about like food shopping and how to like the ingredients in food. Another one involves acting out the book. So that's kind of an example.
Does nobody want to help the hen make the pizza, but then everyone wants to eat?
Exactly. But the twist at the end is that they all agree to help, which is a nice twist. So clean up. And so then we had, 100 lesson plans on our website, and then we kind of realized, okay, now we have to like figure out how to implement them. So, as a board, really kind of leaned on some of the, various experiences from the board to help, create new partnerships. And so, that was really kind of the next step for us. So we had hosted some workshops with different organizations. We did a Cultivating Readers workshop with the Rhode Island After School Plus Alliance of the United Way, where we read The Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza, and then had the educators do the pizza collages. So we could show how, reading and art can really teach kids about, themes of, the kids' steps of cooking a healthy meal in a fun and interactive way. So that was a lot of fun. And then we've made some shorter presentations to groups such as the Rhode Island Librarians during their summer reading program planning session, and to librarians at URI during their annual gathering, and to collaborators with the South County Healthy Bodies and Healthy Minds. So those are some of the different kind of presentations and workshops we've done. And then we were fortunate enough to kind of develop a partnership with the Brown Biology Department. And so we created a framework for after school program called the Fit Choices Healthy Habits After School Program. And this is on our website. The lessons are all kind of lined up. And, it focused on teaching the kids about food groups and staying physically active, and the power of play and importance of sleep routines, sort of those foundational habits that are so important. One of my favorite lessons is about sleep routines, and it's a book, Interrupting Chicken by David Ezra Stein. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's about a father, a rooster, and his little chicken, and reading him a story about like common fables, and he keeps interrupting the story. He's like, wait, the sky is falling, and then at the end, so he keeps interrupting, and the dad's like, little red hen, let me read the story. And at the end, the dad falls asleep, and the kid's still. And then we invite the kids to do like thumbnail sketches of their bedtime routine. So kind of using the book, and then sort of how that segues into healthy habits. And so, in that partnership, we recruited undergraduate students, many of whom were going into health careers like pre-med or other programs. And so I led a 3-hour workshop where we kind of had a chance to practice reading the books out loud, kind of go through the different lessons and how we would go about doing the different, activities. And then they were able to teach the program in a suburban after school. And I think the kids really loved working with the college students. I think that was one of I've learned that because we've done this in different, some different ways. And I think having the college students deliver the curriculum was a great way to go. So we did that for 4 years, and then COVID hit. And so we had to end the program prematurely. So, and you had asked about challenges. I think, when you're trying to do programs, and I'm sure you've have a lot of experience with this as well. But really having strong community partnerships is important, and trying to, coordinate schedules with like undergrads and like PTOs and all, when things are always changing. I think that it's always challenging because all the partners want want it to happen, but timing sometimes hard and communications challenging. So that was definitely a challenge. It was a lot of work, but the programs, they were a lot of fun. Some of the other things we did, because we were also trying to figure out ways to sort of have materials that sort of teachers could run with, or librarians or after school programs could run with, where we weren't kind of like directly involved in programs. And so we developed what we call these like mini lessons called the Fit Choices Book Club. And so, my mom developed that based on her research with how, to use literature interactively in the classroom. And so we have two. The first one is the Farm to Lunchbox series, and then the second one is Let's Stay Active. And so I actually got a chance to do that. My kids are, over 6 feet tall now, but when they were in third grade, I got to, I got to pilot that whole series. So there are 8 total. And I got to do that in their library classroom, and that was great fun. And they were just super engaged and, interactive, and the way the reader responses were constructed. Me as a non-educator felt like I could still engage kids and sort of get through that like 20 minutes and not feel totally overwhelmed, because I kind of had like a really interactive, fun kind of like script to follow. So that worked out real well. And then, I think when I think about Fit Club, I always come back to the books. And I've learned when I meet with different people, it's always like, bring the books. Don't forget to bring the books. Because I think it really helps convey, like, they're just so colorful and bright in all the themes. And so we've actually been able to award some books to different programs over the years. So to the Pawtucket Summer Enrichment Program, to Times 2 Academy, with the South County Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds, and to Farm Fresh Rhode Island. And then we've, in several events, we were provided like raffle baskets, and we're able to give books to various organizations, such as the Rhode Island Summer Reading Program kickoff at the State House, and the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition annual breakfast, where I got to meet you, Greg.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, those are kind of some of the different ways that we've done. And my hope, and on our website, we talk about the ripple effects of our collective fit choices. So I'm always hoping that at least some of these programs and ideas kind of create some positive ripple effects. And like I mentioned before, having strong community partners is paramount. And, have really appreciated the support that I've had in working with Karin Wetherill and Kelly Swanson of the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition, and have really loved the opportunity each October to network with folks and meet different folks doing like-minded work and getting out in the community and trying to spread the word. So yeah, that's sort of, hopefully answers that question for you.
Yeah. My kids are I have 3 younger kids in
Okay, yeah.
3rd grade, and we are all over that Rhode Island Summer Reading Program. So
It's fantastic. Yeah, they do such a good job.
I mean, we start the moment the school sends home the flyer, and then we go put our name on the wall at the library, and then boom, it's can we go? Can we go? So
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it helps so much, especially over the summer, to keep kids reading and, engaged, and, but in a fun way. You don't want to do like schoolwork all summer, but like kind of.
Exactly. That's the only hard part. Trying to convince them it's not work.
Yeah.
Can you speak to us on the importance of teaching food sourcing and food production to students?
Yeah. So when I first thought about it, I'm like, how would I going to answer that question? And then I thought immediately of a book. And so I figured I wanted to read a quote because it kind of speaks to that question. Are you familiar with Joel Salatin at all?
Yes.
So, all right, I figured because you knew about what I listened to the Farm Fresh podcast, and you kind of seem to know a lot about that. So, yeah. So his book, folks, This Ain't Normal: A Farmer's Advice for Happier Hens, Healthier People, in a Better World. So I read that probably before Fit Club. And around the time I read like Omnivore's The Dilemma, he's featured in that, and Food Incorporated back in 2009, he's featured in that. And so I'm going to quote: "A farmer friend of mine told me recently about a busload of middle school children who came to his farm for a tour. The first 2 boys off the bus asked, 'Where's the salsa tree?' They thought they could go pick salsa like apples and peaches. Oh my, what do they put on SAT tests to measure this? Does anybody care? How little can a person know about food and still make educated decisions about it? Is this knowledge going to change before they enter the voting booth? Now that's a scary thought." And so passage has just always resonated with me, and I think about it. And so, if you have no idea where your food comes, how can you possibly start to think about healthy eating if you have no clue?
Mhm.
And I think I maybe gave this book to you at the healthy the annual breakfast, but the book, How Did They Get My Lunchbox? The Story of Food.
Yeah.
It's written by Chris Butterworth and illustrated by Lucia Gagliotti. But it's nice because it walks through the students through like their lunchbox and teaches them how the bread and cheese are made, how the tomatoes are grown. And it's really just critical for kids to understand, where their food comes, to develop a healthy relationship with food. And again, I've seen the consequences of this at either end of the spectrum, in terms of having that unhealthy relationship with food. And food messaging, especially to kids, is so important. And I think, no food is good or bad. There are some foods that should be eaten in moderation, but, we don't want to label foods as like bad or good foods, because it is there to nourish us. And, so that's, yeah.
My daughter is gonna love the fact that you just said no food is good or bad. Because that has not been the way it's been coming out of daddy's mouth, for sure.
Oh.
So she's
Yeah.
gonna love listen to this and says, what?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Out of everything stated on this podcast, she will know that line.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh,
And
my
there are
goodness.
definitely foods you should eat in moderation and more foods you should eat more of, but we don't
Oh.
want to label food as good or bad. Yeah.
It's like people.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Some people you can take in moderation.
that list grows longer.
Every day.
Oh, that's funny.
Could you speak to the themes of your three clubs? I got distracted here. So you've got Young Farmers Club, Young Doctors Club, and the Young Chefs Club.
Yeah, so the clubs kind of represent our kind of broad themes of Fit Club. And, on the website, it says embedding concepts of food, fitness, and farming into the classroom. And so, where our food comes from impacts the quality of our meals, how we shop, prepare, and cook our meals, all of which impacts our health. And so these are all interconnected. And so the lesson plans are kind of grouped by theme on the website. They're not actually like clubs, but more like kind of grouped ideas and concepts.
Now, are these concepts, are your programs, are they taught by facilitators, or are these materials provided like on your site in like school administration, for example?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so currently all of our resources are completely free and all accessible on our website, teachfitclub.org. I realized I hadn't mentioned that yet. So our website's teachfitclub.org. In thinking about like the after school program, Healthy Habits, the one that we kind of facilitated with the Brown students, those are all on the website. And we kind of used a template. So we call it the Fit Club after school template. So the first, we start with a get the wiggles out after school physical activity, and then there's a mindfulness activity to kind of shift their, their after school, kind of shift them to the lesson. There's the interactive read aloud. Then there's the theme transitional physical activity, and then the play-based lessons that emphasize the healthy habits. So, again, we can, so we kind of use these different models over the years. So, we organize that after school program with the Brown undergraduate students. And then we kind of consider that as our pilot program just to see if the program was effective. And then we had a program where we collaborated with Brown medical students, and they ran an after school program, which was a little bit more sort of Young Doctors Club focused. That was at Times2 Academy. And that ran for several years, and then school administration changed, and I think funding kind of changed. So we had to stop that program. And then we've kind of tried another model where we've actually trained staff to run the program. And so, for instance, we did the Healthy Habits program through we implemented that at the Hasbro Summer Learning Initiative in the North Providence site. And that was delivered to 60 rising 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. And so I actually went over and trained the summer program educators, and it was sort of in the same model that I had trained the Brown undergraduate students. And we kind of had a study to sort of measure feasibility, and overall there were pretty positive comments from the instructors. We tried to also measure the responses of the parents to the curriculum, but because it was there was lots of different programming, that piece of the survey didn't get, that didn't quite work out as well, but we were able to talk to all the instructors. And then in 2019, we had the opportunity to partner with Karen Wetherwill and Kelly Swanson at the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition. We got a small grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island and presented to educators at Pell Elementary School. And so we provided educators with children's literature and our Fit Club resources. And as part of that grant, we presented the 3-hour training session to the Pell Elementary after school educators, and we gave them the literature and resources to implement the program so that they could do a 6-week healthy habits curriculum at their program. So, and then I've also kind of done some of those workshops. I kind of mentioned that already, just with the Hasbro Summer Learning Initiatives, and then did a kind of a shorter version to the South County Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds for some of the after school educators who were affiliated with that program.
Nice. Is a fit trainer someone like within the school that you've trained in your resources?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we kind of were playing around with video resources early on when we were doing this, again, trying to figure out different ways that we can try to implement programming. And so we were able to recruit a couple certified physical trainers and a PE teacher. And so they did different videos and these were with our kids when they were in elementary. We recruited our kids and their friends when they were, in elementary school. So they did one to like a sun salutation and a mindfulness-based bacteria. And then the certified physical trainers kind of walk through some of the different lesson plans, like the plotting heart rates lesson, where you would like walk in place, run in place, and then check your pulse. And then kind of showing like different muscle groups by using like common things like, like tomato cans and things like that to show like what a biceps like exercise would be. So that was what the trainers are.
Wow. Now, when I was doing the research for this podcast, one thing that really stood out to me was the Fit Reads program. Can you explain to us how people may become involved with this program?
Yeah. So so the Fit Reads program really kind of stemmed from the COVID-19 pandemic. So my husband and I would go to work and we would come home and we'd see our middle schoolers at the time, like kind of in pig piles on the floor, online with their teachers and trying to get work done. And so, we had to really pivot because we were in the middle of running an after school program and had to stop it because COVID hit like right in the middle of it. And so we had to really kind of just rethink programming. And so we had the idea of the videos, and we had a little bit of experience, like we mentioned, with the fit trainers kind of doing that. And so we experimented with the idea of creating literacy-based video lessons. And we were really lucky. I was able to work with a medical student who had done as an undergrad, had done the program with the suburban school, and then did the program as a med student with *2. And so, I worked with her. And so we kind of came up with the concept for the Fit Reads video series, which is, I'll kind of give you our official spiel for how we talk about it, but it aims to leverage technology to asynchronously bring healthcare professionals from diverse backgrounds into the classroom to promote health and wellness through literacy, while simultaneously exposing underrepresented minority students to professionals from similar backgrounds, encouraging them to explore careers in the medical field. Fit Reads provides educators with online videos featuring underrepresented healthcare professionals who introduce books that model healthy habits, and then film an interactive health-related activity that sets the topic for the core book. So those pilot videos are on our website, and so anyone can access those. You just need the 2 books, so you can buy those on any website. And we worked with Brown pre-med students and medical students that really got so much fun to work with. And I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to my colleague, Dr. Tanisha Bernous, who really was instrumental in kind of helping get that off the ground. And so the videos kind of follow this template. So the first thing is, why are you interested in, so it kind of gets the med students and the pre-med students together in a circle and asks them several questions. And then there's, so like, why are you interested in a career in healthcare, and what has been your path? What advice would you give your 10-year-old self? And then there's a question that kind of sets the topic for the core children's book. And then a fun fact related to the health and wellness topic. And then we have this like kind of brief cartoon intermission where it kind of adds up the different minutes if someone reads for 5 minutes every night from K through 6 versus 20 minutes through K through 6, and sort of the math and sort of like why it's so important to read every night. And then they do the activity and invite kids to do it at home. And so I wanted to kind of just, if it's okay, play I have a little blurb of the interview, the first part, the interview with the med students and pre-med students. So let me see if this works.
Okay.
Generologist, which is a doctor that keeps care of your stomach and the rest of your digestive system. When I grow up, I want to be an anesthesiologist, the type of doctor that helps to put you to sleep during surgery. Why do you want to be a doctor?
I want to be a doctor because growing up, my family and I didn't have a doctor to help us with regular checkups. And I want to help all people have access to better care.
I want to be a doctor because I want to help support people during really difficult times. When I was younger, I had a lot of health issues and was smaller and a bit underweight, and nobody could really figure out why, except for my pediatrician, who ultimately inspired me to want to become a doctor one day. I want to be a doctor because it'll let me help people while they're inside the hospital, and it'll also let me serve as a leader in my home community outside of the hospital. What advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
I would tell my 10-year-old self to read more. Why? Because reading can help strengthen your vocabulary and learn about new ideas.
The advice I would give to my 10-year-old self is to be yourself and allow other people to be themselves as well. I would tell my 10-year-old self that it's okay to not always agree with your friends and to stand up for what you believe in. If I had any advice to give to my younger self, it would be to spend less time inside and more time outside biking or playing games with my neighbors.
Our daily habits can really make an impact over time.
And then that kind of segues into the reading part, but I think they just did such a beautiful job with that. So that was kind of the kind of interview, kind of just a small clip of it, but to give you an example. And so the first video is called Eating a Garden, Trying New Foods. And that's based on the book, I Will Never Not Eat a Tomato, written and illustrated by Lauren Childs. And so after answering the interview questions, the pre-med and medical students highlight the collages that they have made with their new foods. And invite students to do this in the classroom after their teachers read the book. And so I was hoping to also kind of do a clip there, if that's okay. And that'll be the last.
Today's Fit Reads lesson is about trying new foods. In I Will Never Not Ever Eat a Tomato by Lauren Childs, Charlie tries to convince his younger sister Lola to use her imagination and taste foods she thought she would not like. Fun fact. It can take 8 to 15 times to try a new food before you might like it. What is a food that you've recently tried and ended up liking? One food I recently tried and really liked was dark chocolate. I'm usually a really picky eater, but something I've been trying to do is break out of my comfort zone when it comes to trying new foods. Recently, I had crab sushi with my family, and I honestly really enjoyed it, even though I usually don't eat seafood. Today, we'll share some of our new foods. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, and this is one of my favorite foods to make during breakfast time. Although this may look like a bacon, egg, and avocado sandwich on an everything bagel, all the ingredients come from a very special place, outer space. This look-alike bagel is really the planet Saturn carrying its many tiny moons. Our avocados are dark purple stones from Pluto. The bacon is red grass from Mars, and our egg is a stray rock from the asteroid belt that landed all the way here. The clementines are little bursts of sunshine that add a refreshing and healthy twist to breakfast time. As a child, I really enjoyed coming home every day and having dinner with my family to talk about how our days went. One item that I have on my plate are rice and beans, which is a staple dish in our Haitian culture. To complete my plate, I also included some shrimp and also some asparagus. While it may look like all the things I just mentioned, what's really here are pink swirlies from the pink sands of the Magic Kingdom's beach. Green wands that can give you the power to do anything that you can imagine. Yellow sprinkles squeezed from yellow lilies, and the beans are seedlings of fun. I'm a big snack.
So that was a little clip there. So
Wow.
so that's our Fit Reads. That's kind of a little idea of what our Fit Reads videos are like.
That is wild. First off, I'm doing a horrible job with my menu selection because those descriptions are phenomenal. But the one thing I want to say, in all seriousness, the first clip that you played, even without seeing it, I could hear the cultural diversity in the speakers just in their voices. So I can really see how that could resonate with with, just individuals watching the actual video, seeing someone who looks and sounds just like them. So that is great.
Nice. I loved their passion. I hope they're still passionate. I hope you follow them and say, don't
I
forget.
know, they're just it was such a good experience. And we were lucky because Tanisha Vernu's now a doctor. She was a med student at the time, but now she's in her anesthesiology residency. But she was able to recruit one of her colleagues through the med school who's a videographer. So she was the one that did it. And I have such a respect for the arts and entertainment and all the editing. And I know you do it for this program. And I didn't have a clue. I had a blast and really was proud of kind of what they created. So yeah, and I think, in terms of kind of, I guess that was a long-winded way to sort of answer your question, but so these are on the website, they're free. The books, I Will Never Not Eat a Tomato and The Quickest Kid in Clarksville is a second lesson, and that's more based on physical activity and sort of they kind of jump in place and do squat lunges and jumping jacks and plot their heart rates and graph it. And so those are, sort of, we try to do like a healthy eating one and a physical activity. And so those could be done anywhere. After school programs could be done, well, probably too loud for a library, but library program, but in the school. But unfortunately, we've really had a hard time, I think with COVID and then trying to, and, marketing is certainly not my area of expertise. We've had a hard time getting these into the classrooms. And so that's, I think there's a lot of different ways they can be used. And so, and certainly I'm always willing to sort of help navigate that for folks that are interested. But yeah, they're easily available on our site.
Is Fit Club a one-size-fits-all program, or can you tailor it for different circumstances?
Yeah, so we really kind of have tried to be flexible. And again, kind of came back to that initial idea. We had the idea of the lessons and really realized that implementation is key. And really trying to kind of come up with a whole different type of resources that can be used in different ways. So, the Fit Club Reader series are like 20 to 30 minute sort of mini lessons. We have our kind of more standard lessons, and the Fit Reads videos, which can be really used in different ways. And again, they can, they're on the website and folks can kind of, use them exactly how they need them in their program. If it wants to supplement what other lessons that they're doing, or if they're looking for kind of a more like sort of healthy habits module, there's a lot of different ways to use those.
Never will I ever not eat a tomato.
Yeah.
I love tomatoes.
I know, I do too.
I had to think about, because there were so many nevers and nots. Like, does that mean they're not eating it? No, they're gonna eat the tomato.
It's a great book if you
Yeah.
So once again, for all of our listeners and viewers, can you give us the best way to get in contact with Fit Club?
Yeah, so our website is teachfitclub.org. And my email address is on there. We have the info@teachfitclub.org email address and the kanderson@teachfitclub.org email address. So those are probably the best ways to contact our program if you're interested and if looking for ideas or ways to sort of try to implement those in your program. Yeah, I'm happy to sort of help facilitate that.
Been great.
Yes, it was great to meet you. Sorry, I missed you at the healthy breakfast.
Oh, yeah, that was a great event. And it was a very healthy breakfast too. It was quite yummy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you eat?
I did. Yes.
Like you didn't come to the table with us.
No, I stayed
No.
outside and manned our vaping table.
I liked everything except chia.
See,
And I don't mind chia, but it was just a little too much for me.
never had chia.
I'm gonna try it again.
I know that might be one of the foods you need to try. So,
Oh, but the plantains. Did you have the plantains?
oh, did I? I think I did.
Oh,
Those are
man,
good.
Memory lane. All right.
I know.
I like food.
I do too. I really do. Yeah.
Well, Kristin, this has been great. Thank you again for being a guest on our podcast and informing the community of all the great work Fit Club is doing. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you so much for having me on the Totally Preventable podcast. I really love talking to you and think you're doing great work.
Thank you so much. You have a
Thank you.
great rest of your day.
Bye.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.